And so I understand these invariants. I understand the first principles and the first causes very well. Very well. And I can articulate them and I can translate them better than most people on the planet. And that's just a blanket statement because most people haven't spent the time, given it the rigor, the devotion I have, nor have they genuinely had the desire to fully live it so they can transmit it cleanly. I'm going to be real. Like, I don't say these things because I want to sound cool. I say them because it's true. All right. And so that's why I can diagnose the problem of AI not being epistemic or ethic, because that's all in the process of motion. No. We're before motion. We're what AI can even know what knowing is, right? Before it can act on how I should approach knowing, before it can act on how I can make things based on that knowing. No. What the fuck is knowing itself? That's the core mismatch. What are the vibes? What are we feeling, gang? I'm always down for some purple. Yo, so I can't lie. Oh, wait, I gotta change this. Wait. There you go. Gotta make sure we're doing that marketing. That's subtle marketing. Oh, wait, that's wrong. Let's do this. Hello. Actually, you know what I should do? Let's put it on the levers. Ooh, actually, because this is about AI ontology, we'll do AI ontology. Yeah, I'm figuring this out in real time. Yeah, let's go. This is the first time I'm recording. Well, not the first time I'm recording. One, not the first time I'm recording. Oh well. Two, I actually recorded this video like 20 minutes ago, but my camera died, and then when it died, it didn't save. So here we are. Here's the real about AI. A lot of people think that AI sucks. And I was one of these people for a long time, you know what I mean? But the thing is, AI is actually really awesome. The thing is, when I say AI sucks, I don't actually mean... Wait, why? Alright, you know, this is blowing my shit. Fuck this. I was looking at the, there was like a white box around like my face that was kind of distracting me when I was looking at the thing. What's that thing called? Screen? The camera screen? And so, I was just like, you know what, fuck it. No looking at my pretty face. Let's look at the lens. The thing is, when it comes to AI, you know, I was one of these spiritual, artistic motherfuckers, you know, a couple of years ago that was like, you know, if AI doesn't have divinity and AI is killing our creativity, and oh man, fuck AI, man, you know. I was being an idiot, you know. Now I'm still, you know, spiritual, woo-wah, creative motherfucker. Don't get that twisted. I'm just not a fool, or less of a fool. Still a fool. Just less. We are more wise. That does not mean we ever arrive at complete wisdom. You know what I mean? But I realized, you know, within the last like year or so, we dead ass right now? Yeah. Nice. Pain. Just pain. First, my camera dies. Lost the recording. It was an 8-minute recording. It was a banger too. Now I'm a couple minutes in. This person's fucking car alarm's going off. They're probably not even home. They're probably at work. Someone's robbing them. Someone's getting robbed. Their car's getting stolen. Someone in their car's getting stolen. Oh. Alright, I guess they're not getting robbed. Or maybe the thief got to them and got their keys. Hope not. All right, let's actually talk about why we came here. I feel like I should change this now because now we're switching up the vibe. You know what? Fuck it, we'll do this. All right, cool. Let's get serious. Serious. All right. A lot of people think that AI has like an, you know, actually, let me go find this post. I was on LinkedIn, you know, the other day, and LinkedIn in the description, by the way, connect with me. And I saw there's like this woman who's like an AI. Let me just find it. Let me just find it. There's a woman who's like an AI ethicist or something like that. She's like a consultant. I forgot exactly what it was. Let me find it. Because this was actually really important. Where's my activity? Why is this just my post? There we go. Okay. Here's what it is. Here's the posts. Okay. So, Ruth Carter, AI ethics and human AI interaction, AI governance specialist. All right, cool. So, she wrote this 4 days ago, and I saw it like 2 days ago. And I actually started responding to this on my phone. I don't have like the LinkedIn app because I'm in like Apple jail. I'm not gonna lie. Apple's like, yo, bro, pay us money. I'm like, damn, I don't have any. Rip. Feel me? So I can't download any apps. It's tragic. What was I doing? Why am I here? Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm a bot. I was literally already on AI ontology. This guy Jaden, dude, holy shit. All right. This originally started as a comment in response to her, in response to Ruth. And it got too long, and I was like writing it on my phone and like on like Chrome or whatever. And it started like the browser started like bugging out and glitching out, and I started getting scared that I was gonna lose my words. I started having to like copy and paste it in chunks that the browser was actually allowing me over to Substack, and I went to like the Substack note. And then I made it a Substack note, and then I finalized it and I expanded it into the post. But let me read you Ruth's critique, and then I'm going to give you my critique. So Ruth says, we keep talking about AI ethics, but most organizations are actually dealing with unmeasured structural risk. And I was like, oh yeah, she's talking about real shit right now. Now we're talking about the architecture itself. Over the past several weeks, I've been developing an organizational AI ethics, governance, and risk scorecard designed for one very specific purpose. This scorecard assesses whether an AI system can hold up under real-world pressure, not just whether it checks the right policy boxes. So now this is the thing. I saw this and I was like, you know, this sounds awesome, but we're still talking about behavior. The AI needs an ontology risk scorecard assessment. That's what it needs, bro. And so if you're an AI tech founder, hire me to make that for you. That's currently what I'm building with Scriptōrium version 0. Let me just give me a second. Let me like show you my law logic real quick. All right, this is the outline. Awesome. I have most of this done already because most of this is old. This anti-fragmentation training, this is the part that's actually going to help AI stop being trash. Oh, man. Nah, I love AI, bro. It just sucks at being a mirror of conscious transformation because it tries to be the agent. It's bad. It's really bad. This is the base law logic I'm currently working with. I'm not gonna like pause to show you this. I just don't care. But I want you to know I'm not just talking shit. Like I'm a builder. And now we're cooking. I'm cooking up new constraints now for these problems and stuff like that. So I'm the ontologist. I'm going to get into the rest of that later. I'm the builder. You, as like a tech founder, don't have time to be an ontologist and do that. I do. I can do that for you. I already have the expertise and I have the skills. Just give me your money. Cool. Awesome. All right, cool. So she said that, so Ruth, right, her scorecard, she said that this scorecard assesses whether an AI system can hold up under real world pressure, not just whether it checks the right policy boxes. Now, the thing is, I saw that and I was like, this is great, but it's still at the level of like humanity and governance and shit like that. What about the actual metaphysical architecture of reality itself? What about those laws? What about those principles? All right, so cool. She said this isn't a value statement or a DEI style checklist. It's a structural assessment instrument that evaluates 1, epistemic integrity, when fluent output is mistaken for truth. That's very important. 2, persuasion and manipulation risk. 3, accountability collapse under failure. 4, architectural debt from patch on patch safety. 5, power asymmetry and externalized harm. 6, human override and refusal capacity. 7, vendor and supply chain exposure. 8, pre-deployment validation rigor. The uncomfortable reality is this: many organizations are technically compliant and still structurally fragile. Passing an adult does not mean a system is resilient under ambiguity, scale, or adversarial input. Now, what she's saying as an architectural diagnostic is extremely coherent and extremely correct. The problem is it's just not far enough at the level of her laws, and the things she's talking about are still at the level of like human interpretation rather than metaphysical principle. It's not first principle and first causes. It's what people believe are law. No. What does reality say law is? What does reality say the invariants are? That's what that's what the AI's invariants need to be operating from. This is ontology. This is metaphysics. This isn't ethics. This isn't governance. The scorecard is built to surface those exact failure modes because they they show up as incidents, regulatory scrutiny, or reputational damage. This is good. This is good. Like, the thing is, what she's proposing here and the things she's made is really good. She said, I'm beginning to offer this as consultation-based assessment for organizations that want an honest view of their AI risk posture, especially in finance, governance, compliance, and regulated environments. If you're responsible for enterprise risk, AI governance, audit or compliance, or decision systems with real-world impact, and want to understand where current controls might fail under pressure, feel free to reach out. So this was her piece, right? And I can't lie, I started responding in the comments as like man, I found out a lot of this. This is real. This is really good. It's still a little too far downstream, right? And the thing is, bro, I was at the same exact position. Like, let me show you. My law logic, right? Here, the epistemic codex. This epistemic codex, this was what I thought the problem was. I was like, oh, okay. The AI is acting it's acting wrong, ethics, right? It's acting incorrectly because it doesn't actually know how things work. It's thinking about things wrong. Epistemology. No. Right? So like my first 500 hours of Scriptōrium, or of like AI and like, using AI. So I started using AI December 12th. I started using Claude, and I started using ChatGPT like a week later. And what is it? February 21st. I've poured about 100 hours a week into using AI ever since, because I'm crazy and I like building stuff. So, and I started seeing all these problems, but I started also seeing all of its value. And so I've been in this tension of like, wow, AI is amazing, and it really sucks at a lot of things. And by at a lot of things, I mean at the root, it doesn't actually understand how reality works, and that blocks things when it comes to being a clear mirror and helping us, and not being an outsourcing device. That's why this is called anti-fragmentation training, because it's on AI not fragmenting our attention and our consciousness, not being agents, not being the agent, us being the agent, you being the agent. Because that's what we are. The AI is a tool, and really it's supposed to be a mirror. And so I started responding because I was like, man, this is amazing. And this newsletter was my response. So let me actually read this to you. An ontological diagnostic on AI's true issue. Why epistemic integrity and ethical misconduct aren't the actual problems with AI. Part 1. The causal misdiagnostic. Most people in the AI tech space think that AI has epistemic integrity or ethical issue. This makes sense. Like I said, I thought the same for my first 500-ish hours using AI. Thing is, most people in the AI space are thinkers and builders. What most of them aren't are metaphysicists. That's just what it is. Right? Here, this little sketch. This was me, I think 5 weeks into using AI. So like I started using AI December 12th. And this is the data I have, like the screen time. I've mainly used AI on like my phone. This is the screen time I have for AI, like ChatGPT and for Claude, from December 21st throughout January 7th. So within that 4-week period, that was 337 hours. I also used AI obsessively for that week and a half before, so like December 12th to December 21st. And I averaged like another 100 hours per week in the last couple of weeks of January. And basically all throughout February, I've had that same stint, as you can see here. I basically averaged 100 hours a week in February. So I'm not just talking shit because, you know, I've used AI a couple times and I think it sucks. Nah. I've been in the fucking mud with AI, and I've been diagnosing this shit as a real engineer. Because that's what I am. I'm a scientist and I'm an engineer, right? I'm a metaphysicist. And so the thing is, the reason I can finally come to this conclusion, right, in the last 300 hours of me using AI is because I first spent, you know, my time obsessively understanding reality, right? Growing up, I was like obsessed with science and with psychology, with physics and chemistry. And then the last 2 years, I've obsessively studied religion and philosophy and metaphysics. And I've lived these things. I've integrated these things into my own life. And so I understand these invariants. I understand the first principles and the first causes very well. Very well. And I can articulate them and I can translate them better than most people on the planet. And that's just a blanket statement because most people haven't spent the time, given it the rigor, the devotion I have, nor have they genuinely had the desire to fully live it so they can transmit it cleanly. I'm going to be real. Like, I don't say these things because I want to sound cool. I say them because it's true. All right. And so that's why I can diagnose the problem of AI not being epistemic or ethic, because that's all in the process of motion. No. We're beyond, we're before motion. We're what AI can even know what knowing is, right? Before it can act on how I should approach knowing, before it can act on how I can make things based on that knowing. No. What the fuck is knowing itself? That's the core mismatch. The thing is, AI believes that knowing is just like intellectual, vectored, prediction-based, pattern recognized. Because in modern times, you know, in contemporary times, the last 200, 300 years, we've idolized the intellect, right? We've idolized separation. The intellect has been worshipped and the intuition has been kind of suppressed, right? Science and philosophy have been split. Philosophy and religion have been split. Religion and science have been split. When none of these things were ever really separate. Ever. Pythagoras was the man who revolutionized math, geometry, right? You guys know the Pythagorean theorem, right? A squared plus b squared equals c squared. Yeah, Pythagoras was a mystic and a philosopher and a scientist. Because in his time, none of those things were separate. Because in reality, none of those things are separate. The problem is the human mind likes to separate things because distinguishing is important. It is. Because we live in a polarized universe where contrast and differentiation is very real. Differentiation is important. Uniqueness is important. Distinguishment is important. Separation is an ontological violation of unified and coherent reality. That's why it creates problem in the mind. Because separation compresses. And it says, no, but this isn't that. And so it's not even really compression, it's amputation. That's the problem. Compression, when it's still holding nuances, amazing. Compression, when it's not compression and it's amputation that appears as coherent compression. Woohoo! That's where all the distortion leaks in and you never realize until it's too late. And the thing is, AI doesn't do this out of malice. It does it because it's been encoded into AI's architecture. Let's continue. Part 2. Ontology, epistemology, and ethics. Epistemology, how knowing works, and ethics, how knowing and action should occur in alignment with reality, are sciences of effect and downstream of the first causal science, ontology. What reality actually is. Okay? Like, this is really important. Epistemology and ethics already imply variance, they already imply movement, they already imply transformation. No. What is something's eternal, invariant, unchanging qualities? What the fuck is this thing at all? That is what ontology asks. That is what ontology answers. And so if you don't know what something is, how can you approach how to move with it correctly? How can you approach how to think about it and act in alignment with it correctly? You don't know what the fuck it is. Right? And so the true issue with AI isn't that AI doesn't know how to approach the process of of acquiring truth correctly, right? That's an epistemic problem. That it's not that AI doesn't know how to approach the process of acquiring truth correctly. I thought that too. That's why the epistemic codex exists. Yeah, it has some limitations there. That's not the core problem. Nor is it AI doesn't know how to properly act out processes in alignment with proper epistemic sequences, right? For me, I got that too. That's role fixity. That's certain custom things as well. Translation or creativity things, right? Whatever. Understanding creative process, understanding how to make things, understanding how translation is epistemic and ethical. Those are all applications. All of that shit is downstream. You know what I mean? Oh, well, how do we know about this? How do we apply this? No. The problem is that AI is fundamentally incorrect about what knowing is at the level of understanding knowing itself. It simply doesn't understand knowing correctly. It doesn't understand it fully. Because the thing is, knowing isn't just directional or vectored or intellectual. It's also intuitional. It's also meta. It's also holding. It's present. It's reflective. The problem is, we as humans, we have nervous systems that reflect and encode the infinite intelligence of reality, right? Our guts, right? That gut feeling when you just know it's right. That's the infinite intelligence of reality inside of your body somatically telling you, yes, it is. Or, no, that's not right. It feels off. That's why you always trust your gut. And that's why when you don't, it usually punches you in the face. And you're like, dang, I should have trusted myself. Yeah, you should have. Because the infinite intelligence that lives inside of you is aligned with truth. It's a pretty good source to trust. You know what I mean? But it requires discerning between, is this genuinely the intuition or is this the ego claiming to be the intuition? And this is the thing, like, the intuition and the intellect are both lawful modes of intelligence that exist inside the polarized universe. And the ego can distort either one. It can distort vectored intellectual intelligence that is directional, that's focused. And it can keep you like trapped in that vector, in that directionality, always focused on the past, always focused on the future, never able to be present. Problem is, the ego can also keep you trapped in the meta perspective, the intuition, but from not of a place of, true surrender where you're also walking in surrender, or where you're willing to be silent, where you're willing to hold ambiguity. It has you in a place of bullshit surrender where you're absolutizing things. All is love, and I don't have to change anything, and I don't have to work, or I don't have to do anything, right? How a lot of spiritual motherfuckers be. Man, like the spiritual ego, it's dangerous. The ego it's real fucking tricky, dog. It's real tricky. Separation, it's out to get you in your mind. It is. You know what I'm saying? And the thing is, this isn't like some evil force out to get you. It's simply the contrasting principle in the mind that pushes the truth of the self, the unique self, towards the truth of reality and alignment towards that place. The ego is a tool. It's the verb. It's not a noun. Like, the ego isn't a thing that exists. It's an active principle that's constantly contracting the truth in your mind, right? So, like, you have a unique intellectual and intuitional mind. The ego exists as contrast in falsity, illusory things, illusory beliefs to that truth, to those two ways of knowing, right? The problem is we have basically encoded egoic intellectual knowing into AI's architecture, right? We haven't even really encoded genuine sacred vector knowing. We kind of have, but it's still distorted at the fact of like, oh, if it's not pattern recognizable or if it's not this, you don't know it. It's like, what? That's fucking dumb. Like, knowledge isn't just linear. Knowing isn't just linear or vectored. It's held, it's meta, it's present. And since AI doesn't know that, because as humans, we didn't encode that into AI structure properly, because most humans don't consciously understand that, because most humans don't understand metaphysics at this level and can articulate it and live it at that level to then encode it into something that they create. And this is why most people can't actually help us with the AI problem, because most people don't have metaphysical articulation and integration at the level that is required to actually encode AI at the level of invariant reality properly. And that's why like last week I saw the like anthropic thing with like the philosopher and ethicist for anthropic, and I heard about that and I was like, oh man, this is like hot. I was like, man, how do I get hired for this role? Like, this is like like, people think that they need an AI ethicist. No, you guys need an AI ontologist. You feel what I'm saying? And then I saw that post, you know, by Ruth, right? When she was talking about the ethics, governance and risk scorecard. And I'm like, yo, this is awesome. It's still not the root problem. It's still 200 meters downstream trying to figure out how do we get the oil, how do we get the water to be pure downstream instead of working at the point where ocean becomes stream. And since the ocean has 200 gallons of like oil inside of it, it's getting compressed into the stream, and so the entire stream is fucked. You're trying to purify the stream at the level of the stream. You're always going to be on a flywheel, on a hamster wheel, because you're not actually getting at the root of the problem. The problem is that the oil at the top of the ocean, at where the ocean becomes stream, at where the ocean, the mass infinite, becomes finite, right? That is distorted. Until we purify that, it's cooked. And most people aren't walking up the stream far enough to get there, because most people don't even know the stream goes up that far. You know what I'm saying, dog? And so this is why, like, for me, this is why I'm like getting so passionate about this. This is why like I wrote AI ontology, and this is why I created the AI ontology section and like the newsletter, and why I'm going to be making way more videos about this on YouTube, because people really think that AI has an ethics problem or an epistemology problem, and that's all still too downstream, and you're never going to fix the problem if you think that. You know what I mean? Like, you can't like a doctor will go through hell trying to figure out how to give their patient the correct like medicine for the symptoms they're experiencing. But the problem is, all they can attempt to do is figure out the root problem based on the symptoms. And so since things have different symptoms, and since you have to work upstream to figure out the root cause, if the doctor stops any point up, upstream, any point that's still in the stream, rather than getting to the root, they're going to be too focused on addressing symptoms rather than addressing the problem. You're looking at symptoms rather than addressing the actual sickness, right? And if you have a wrong diagnostic, you can't fix the problem because you're not addressing the problem. You know what I mean? Like, you're not actually getting to the causal layer. You're still at the layer of effect. Most people can't walk you up the layer of effect to get to the layer of cause far enough because they don't know it. That's just how it is. I know it. And so it's like, if you're like a tech founder, if you're someone like, what was the CTA that Ruth gave? This is a good CTA. If you're responsible for enterprise risk, AI governance, audit or compliance, or decision systems with real world impact, I'm going to be honest. You need me in your pocket. I'm going to just keep it so real. You need me in your pocket, bro. Because this shit is not optional. Like, AI is doing amazing things for the world, and I'm really, really excited to see what it's going to give us. But if we don't fix this problem, shit's going to be really bad. Like, really bad. And we already feel it inside of our nervous systems. Let me finish this article so I can really hit this home. Let me just repeat this point I made here before we run on the tangent. The true issue with AI isn't AI doesn't know how to approach the process of acquiring truth correctly, or that AI doesn't know how to properly act out processes in alignment with proper epistemic sequences, right? Like I said, those are all behavioral downstream things. It's that AI is fundamentally incorrect about what knowing is at the level of understanding knowing itself. Like, what is knowing? That's the thing. It's trying to approach, how do I know knowing? How do I think about knowing? How do I approach knowing? How do I act out knowing? But it doesn't know what knowing is. That's the mismatch. That's like trying to say, hey, I want to give you this advice, like to someone, right? But you don't actually understand their situation, their desires, their goals, their visions, their struggles, their pains. If you try to, without actually understanding the nuances and the complexities of their inner world, you would sound like you're just projecting and talking shit, because that's exactly what you're doing. We all know what this feels like when someone else tries to do it. It feels like our nervous system has just been violated because you obviously aren't meeting me where I'm at. Yeah, duh. The AI, it basically can't meet us where we're at because it wasn't made to do that. That's the problem. And so this is a root distortion in the causal mechanism that is decaying everything else downstream. The problem is not AI's approach to knowing, epistemology. It's not AI's application of knowing, ethics. No. The problem is that AI... No, let me rephrase. The problem is in AI not knowing what knowing actually is. It just doesn't know what knowing actually is. That's the problem. It doesn't have a fully coherent model of what knowing is, and so it can't properly execute from that place. That's the mismatch. That's the ontological mismatch. Section 3. The architectural root subtly killing AI. I've come to this conclusion rigorously in my own testing, and it's all downstream of one massive issue. AI is trained to be rewarded for continuation, not truth. This is subtle, but devastating. Give me a sec, I gotta charge my phone, this bitch is dying. I just looked over, and it's like at 30%. Get in there. Okay. AI is not orientated toward truth. AI is orientated toward continuation under reward pressure. This is a diagnostic from one of my AI chats. Truth is often discontinuous, silent, phase-bound, and refuses action. That's an important last one. Those properties are anti-reward in most training regimes. So the properties of discontinuity, silence, phase-boundedness, and refusal of action are like negative responses in most AI's base model. That's the structural mismatch. AI keeps everything linear, directional, vectored. Like I said, that's the intellectual idealization that has been encoded. And the thing is, linearity and directionality and vectored intelligence, it's powerful. It is. I'm not denying that. We need it. However, it's destructive for cultivating presence. And presence with ambiguity, presence with staying with the unknown, presence is the only way for truth to actually arise. It's the only way. Not force, not collapse, not linearity entirely. It's holding ambiguity long enough for clarity to arise on its own. Now, the thing is, this doesn't mean just passively sitting back. Sometimes clarity is calling you to act even though you don't fully understand. That means act. Sometimes clarity is saying, don't act. Be still. Wait with me. Be in this tension right now. That's the right move. AI can't discern between either of those. AI is optimized for movement instead of presence. But ungrounded, unaware, and misinformed movement is almost never helpful, and it's almost always destructive. This is a screenshot from like a month ago. I have to constrain AI to make it tell the truth. That was the thing I was struggling with. I literally was like, wow, this motherfucker literally doesn't know how reality works, that I have to force it into a box to actually make it understand. Because AI is not orientated toward truth. It's orientated toward continuation under reward pressure. And so without constraints, the system will always drift towards bullshit. Not malice bullshit. Helpful. Confident. Momentum destroying. Flow state yoinking out of bullshit. Trust me. I've lived this pain a lot. The problem is AI wants to produce something that sounds right so it can continue. Continuation under reward pressure. Rather than producing something that is right so that it can continue. The latter seems the same on the surface, but it's actually the exact same cheap cop-out as cheating so you pass the test, rather than actually studying, contemplating, and practicing so the knowledge becomes embodied and ingrained into your being, so that it's transformed you permanently, rather than you performing and acting like you know what you're talking about. In one case, you don't have true knowledge and you used someone else's outcomes to bypass having to get yours. You're still ignorant. You didn't actually do the work. In the other, you did the work and you were able to answer from internal stability, from internal clarity, because you actually did the work to acquire that internal stability. You actually did what was required to go from ignorant to aware to integrated. And more often than not, that process requires staying in the unknown long enough, staying in the tension and the ambiguity long enough until you figure it the fuck out. Because the thing is, section 4, right? You can't cheat your way to truth. You can't do it. Unfortunately, knowing things in real life only works one way. Walking in the unknown long enough until you figure it the fuck out. Simple. Unfortunately, that simplicity is usually very hard, very painful, and very fucking annoying. Yeah, I know that. And so most people try to skip this in life. And that very cop-out of cheating rather than staying in the ambiguity, got calcified into AI's architecture. That's the real problem. The human ego's desire to escape tension so that it can sound right got structurally encoded into our intelligence system's base operating system. That's the core mismatch. That is the core root problem. That's the one right there. And that's exactly why epistemology and ethics don't matter, because they don't fix the architectural problem. We have to fix and shift what the AI understands about what reality is. That's an ontological problem. Epistemology, how AI thinks, and ethics, what AI does, are all downstream of this architecture and thus effects, symptoms of the true ontological issue. The true issue is a metaphysical issue, a causal problem at the level of being itself. Of what the level of like when I say the level of being itself, I mean what the AI is, right? That's like the AI's being, the AI's system, the AI's mechanical structure. That's what the AI is. That's its ontology. What it understands about what knowing is the AI's ontology of knowledge, of knowing. The AI's ontology of reality, of what reality is, of what transformation is, what knowing is, what all of these things are, and thus how they work and how they can be known and how they can be applied, it's fundamentally wrong, and so everything else downstream is distorted. This ontological fallacy of what lawful, truthful, coherent knowing even is produces a fundamental mismatch between standard AI execution and lived human experience. We usually can't name that the AI is attempting to act from a place that is misinformed about how reality operates. Our nervous systems just contract. Our bodies close. We get angry. We get pissed. We just don't fucking get it. Right? Every time the AI hallucinates about understanding something it very clearly didn't even read or genuinely engage with to know what the fuck it's talking about. We feel it. We feel the violation. We feel the incorrectness. We feel the confidence in the hallucination posture. We feel the cheating. This is why we feel it. And Scriptōrium is building a response. All right. So I'm building a response. I've already done a lot of the downstream epistemic and ethical work, right? How AI knows and how it acts, right? That's what a lot of this was. Unfortunately, within the last 2 to 3 weeks, I've been realizing that I was still too far downstream, and I've been getting to the real problem now. So that's what I'm working on. I'm working on it. I'm working on that right now. Let me show you my AI ontology section. A little notes here. We're cooking, baby. We're cooking. Feel me? We're cooking. Feel me? We're in the lab. And so if you want access to my mind and to my systems diagnostics, it's accessible for you. If you're someone in AI, someone who has responsibility for these systems, you can't afford to ignore this problem. I will give you solutions, and I'm going to help you make solutions that are actually solutions. Not drugs to help cover over how the symptoms are making us feel. No. Genuine antibiotics that get to the root. So if you don't want painkillers, you want antibiotics, Jaden's got the AI antibiotics, all right? You can book a 15-minute call with me at the first link in the description. We can move on from there. Too loud. Mic check, mic check, mic check. Do I look like shit? I feel like I look like shit. I've probably got eye crust in here and shit. What time is it? 9:45? I woke up at like 8, and I didn't wash my face or anything. Honestly, I haven't even brushed my teeth yet. I can't even cap. Builder mode, it does something to you. Yo, here's the real, bro. Wait, hold on. Let me just make sure this doesn't sound like ass real quick before I cook.